You're there because you're racist.
As a 17-year-old virgin, why do you feel entitled to have this conversation?
So a dispersal order in place right across Epping right now until 8 a.m. tomorrow indeed, with more protests expected at the Bell Hotel housing illegal migrants, as police sources admit our forces simply cannot cope with any further civil unrest as our rudderless United Kingdom, with no proper leadership, sits on the brink of serious summer disobedience. As ordinary, patriotic Brits rise up peacefully, the hard-left coordinated Antifa mob are showing their true nasty colours as they do all they can to stoke unrest and cause violence, which will then be used to shut down discussion of the legitimate issues that we're all furious about, right? Now, do you remember this inspiring 17-year-old from yesterday? He was praised by Tommy Robinson for speaking his mind outside the Britannia Hotel in Canary Wharf. Big news! Outspoken is now available as a podcast too. So please do subscribe wherever you get yours, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you rate and review. I'll take 5 stars, if you may.
British public aren't thick. We're aware that you're just trying to scatter these people into areas which you believe we don't care about. Canary Wharf is a very rich area. I would be very lucky to be housed in one of these hotels, but for whatever reason, they would favour the people who aren't integrated and who don't speak English. I don't know why. The Labour government, very interestingly, removing the whips of the people that don't like the austerity that they're bringing, want to be sly, want to go for voting blocks that would supposedly win them the next general election. Why do you think they're decreasing the voter age to 16 to 17-year-olds? It's because they are part of the liberal elites who, of course, aren't affected by these issues. Predominantly, young people are protected by issues of politics. That is why they want to decrease the voting age. But unfortunately, there are buggers like me, 17-year-olds, who are of the working class, who will see the problems.
Yeah. Wow, 17.
And we'll, of course,
What an inspiring, amazing young guy, right? Well, check this. Just hours after that video, in London yesterday, he was subjected to a grotesque on-camera attack, proving that the hard left will continue to deny free speech with the most revolting of tactics.
Of course. You change subjects.
As a 17-year-old virgin, why do you feel entitled to have this conversation?
Oh, bloody hell, what's he chucking me? Oh, he chucked me with eggs. It is living, it's not a human life. Bloody coward, you ideological incel. No, it's living, it's not a human life. You see the distinction there? A pig is living, but it's not a human life. A sperm is not a human life, but it's living regardless.
Just horrifying. I mean, good on him for keeping his cool. But that's what happens now in Sadiq Khan's London when you try and make a point outside of their woke window. As independent journalist Sydney Jones asked, do the left feel proud physically assaulting a 17-year-old boy? This young man speaks more eloquently than any of the left. This is why they turn to physical violence. The left intend to brand us all far-right racists for trying to stand up for our country, with the MSM buying into that narrative as proven by Politics Joe.
Bonding with that energy and violence only to these crimes that are committed by people who aren't white, to immigrants. However many, I don't know, I don't know the numbers, but white men commit atrocious acts against women and children. Actually, literally take, for instance, the aristocrat and her boyfriend who went on the run and their baby daughter died. That's a horrific story. And you're not rioting about the death of that girl. Think of every atrocious story you've heard about a man. Let's take Wayne Couzens, for instance, killing Sarah Everard. There's women protesting. The far right were quite quiet on that one. If you're interested in protecting women and girls, it only inspires such venom when it is someone who's not white during it. So it's completely hollow saying you're there to protect women and children. You're there because you're racist.
Racist? Really? Tell that to this patriotic young Brit, Elise Spicer.
Anyone else scared to be British at the moment and is seriously concerned about the state of this country and where it's headed? Because I am pretty scared. I personally think it's absolutely terrifying how being proud to be British is now seen as being racist, and how the Union Jack is now seen as a symbol of being racist. And I think that's incredibly sad, and it makes me really, really fucking angry. It makes me so angry when I think about all the people who have fought for Britain and to keep our country safe over the years, and it now just feels like to be British and to say you're British and to be proud of it, to sing the national anthem, it gets booed in our own country. To wear a Union Jack to school for a cultural day, you get told to go home. Like, what the hell is happening?
But of course, our elites have absolutely no idea about what's really happening on the ground. I mean, did anyone prove that more today than the highly privileged Dan Snow, who posted, "The idea that Britain is a powder keg because of its diversity is in itself stunningly racist. Millions of us live in diverse families bound by ties of love and respect that are as combustible as granite." As Rafe Hadel Manku of the New Culture Forum responded, "Nepo baby Dan Snow, brother-in-law of the Duke of Westminster, son of broadcast royalty Peter Snow and Anne Macmillan, great-great-grandson of PM David Lloyd George, thinks it's racist to fear that immigration is fraying social cohesion. Might I suggest his lived experience differs from those who encounter the dark side of diversity daily in Britain's rapidly declining towns and cities? What's his experience of rape gangs, migrant hotels, sexual harassment outside schools, stabbings, shoplifting, antisocial behaviour, etc., etc. If ever one needed a poster child to represent a haughty, liberal elite completely disconnected from the millions who live at the diversity coalface, it would be Mr. Dan Snow." Or as summed up, maybe a little bit more succinctly, but just as brilliantly by Leo Kearse, "Place 10 illegal migrants on Dan Snow's street right now. Nothing will change until leftists personally experience the consequences of their opinions." Indeed, Leo Kearse then did point out the real-world experiences of schoolgirls and locals in Epping, Essex, which, remember, caused this most recent blow-up.
Police arrested 38-year-old Hadoush Gerber-Slassie Kibatu and charged him with 3 sexual assaults, inciting a girl to engage in sexual activity and harassment, or, as it was described by the police and in the media, Epping man charged. Yes, Hadoush Gerber-Slassie Kibatu is an Epping man, presumably in the same way that Axel Muganwa Rudakabana is a Welsh choir boy. No, Hadoush Gerber-Slassie Kibatu isn't an Epping man, he's an Ethiopian man.
You want to see him attack for violence, yeah?
Oh, fine. Go in the front.
Video. No! He's been trying to track to minors, bro! He's trying to minors, bro! Don't mind him! Police are coming! Police are coming! He's watching. Okay, sorry.
Mason! Mason! Come here. Beg. There's a king.
And I believe you know the
Yes, well done on sending your milk bottle tops into Blue Peter to build water wells in 1986. The people you saved are now hopping on small boats to come and say thank you by harassing your kids.
Very well put, Leo. But it's not just Dan Snow. That other out-of-touch turd who should be in jail for sending us into an illegal war, Alistair Campbell, remember him? Well, he's been attempting to take the moral high ground, suggesting that newspapers like the Daily Mail and The Sun are now stoking riots, and of course his solution is more censorship than ever. He wrote, "It is pretty sickening, especially after the events of last year, to see politicians on the right and their fanzine newspapers positively willing others to bring about their predictions of social unrest. People in politics tend either to want to solve problems or exploit them to fuel hate and anger. That is the current dividing line, and the papers who want to make it happen will be the first to condemn when it does." But Dan Hodges of the Mail hit back, saying earlier in the week the Prime Minister's official spokesperson literally briefed journalists this issue had been raised at Cabinet, with Angela Rayner specifically warning of a possible breakdown in social cohesion, with Campbell responding yes because she is on the side of the dividing line that wants to sort real problems. My point is about those like Farage and your paper who are itching for it to kick off. Now that couldn't be further from the truth. I'm actually going to show you right now what newspaper in Britain really wants it to kick off, okay? It's the Socialist Worker Party, demanding that folk drive out the Nazis from Essex. But we know there are no Nazis at these protests in Essex. I mean, what we've seen in Epping and Dover and Diss and Canary Wharf is that the protesters are just ordinary, worried mums and dads and grandparents. And the real trouble is coming from the hard left. These Antifa organisations, by the way, are highly organised, and they are always there to cause trouble. I mean, look how quickly they wanted to mobilise and cause trouble at Canary Wharf. As Martin Knight pointed out, the signs displayed by the different sets of protesters at Epping and elsewhere are telling. The locals have homemade signs, each one individual thrown together hurriedly from cardboard. This indicates a group of individuals coming together impromptu to express their specific grievance. The visitors all hold the same sign, which indicates central organisation and a network that is ideologically driven rather than any grasp or concern of the locals. Journalists should find out who is making the signs, who is distributing them, what, if any, is their relationship with the government and the police. But of course the MSM will never ask those questions because it doesn't fit their narrative. They are willfully blind to our fury at what's happening to our neighbourhoods with a ring of steel now in place at the Britannia Hotel, as workers have been pictured hauling beds and mattresses inside. And as Dan Hodges added, this is what I'm talking about. At the same time the Prime Minister is claiming there are large swaths of spare housing stock, his government is spending significant amounts of taxpayers' money hosting asylum seekers in 4-star hotels in Canary Wharf. It's political madness. And here's the brilliant independent journalist who I really do support, Jack Hadfield, on the scene in Canary Wharf. But first, as I've entered my 40s, ageing has become ever-present in my life. My body doesn't back up the way it used to, and I've found that it's far easier to get injured when trying to work out, far harder to recover too. But I believe one of the best ageing breakthroughs of the last decade is qualia senolytic. And I'm going to explain why. Senolytics are a science field revolutionizing human aging. A big culprit behind that middle-aged feeling can be so-called zombie cells that linger in your body after their useful function, wasting your energy and resources. Now, those zombie cells can lead to less energy, slower workout recovery, joint discomfort, and basically feeling old. Now, qualia senolytic is a groundbreaking, clinically tested supplement with 9 vegan plant-derived compounds that help your body naturally eliminate these zombie cells, helping you feel years younger in just months. But here's what I absolutely love about this product. You take it just 2 days a month, helping your body naturally eliminate zombie cells to age better at the cellular level. Now, since taking qualia senolytic, I've felt like I've turned back the clock. I have higher energy, less soreness after exercise, and a big boost in productivity too. That all equals feeling so much better. So experience the science of feeling younger by going to qualialife.com/Dan for up to 50% off your purchase. Use the code DAN, that's DAN, for an additional 15%. So that's QUALIA life.com/Dan for an extra 15% off your purchase. Your older self will thank you. And by the way, thanks to Qualia for sponsoring this episode. Now, let's get back to it.
Oh, is that what it is it? Is that what it is it? Well, arrest me then.
Stand Up to Racism have now just arrived with counter-protesters now, one on one side of the road here, next to Stand Up to Racism.
You can see that total difference, can't you, there? One side organised, paid for Antifa protesters. And the problem is, we can no longer trust that our police forces are treating all protesters equally. Turning Point UK has been doing great work on this, discovering that the Hampshire Constabulary have escorted masked Antifa thugs past a local-led migrant hotel protest in Aldershot. They say this is a tactic designed to antagonise the locals, justify police brutality, and argue that two-tier policing must end. Here's the video.
You heard that COVID's over, you don't have to wear face masks.
Take your mask off. Take your mask off.
I know you can't be that good looking, but come on, guys, take the masks off.
So you can see what's happening there. And as Alex Phillips pointed out on this, if this is another force escorting counter-protesters, it begins to appear as though this is some sort of state-backed tactic. Infiltrate otherwise peaceful protests with professional agitators, provoke ugly scenes, and create an excuse to clamp down hard on demonstrations to scare people off holding them. Is this what is happening? If so, it is utterly chilling. Was this used after Southport? I'd heard assertions, but I dared not believe them to be true. We need answers now. And you cannot blame us for being angry, right? Because the situation today has got even worse, with new revelations that more than 6,000 illegals have used taxpayer-funded payment cards to gamble since July last year. Dominic Cummings raged in response, saying more logical government, the pathological system working exactly as intended, transferring taxpayers' cash to fake asylum seekers is not just bureaucratic momentum, but a moral and aesthetic value in SW1. Revaluation of all values. And guess what? It gets even worse, because today we learn that the people meant to be protecting us are not ready for any type of unrest whatsoever, let alone a terror attack, for God's sake. The Daily Telegraph reporting that Tiff Lynch, the head of the Police Federation, which represents rank and file officers, has said that they were being pulled in every direction and commanders were forced to choose between keeping the peace at home or plugging national gaps. She said that if violent protests spread throughout the summer, it would be dangerous to assume that officers would be able to hold the line indefinitely, adding, it would be comical if it weren't so serious and so familiar. Meanwhile, further protests are planned outside migrant hotels this weekend in Norfolk, in London, in Bournemouth and Southampton, encouraged by our superstar panelist today, Nick Buckley, who wrote, "We need this at every migrant hotel. It is the only way. Be loud and proud. This is your country." But of course, the Essex police just want you to stay at home, right? That's what they really want. Forget what they say. That is what they want. They are trying to discourage people from attending. And they have released video today of an arrest of one man. You don't see this, do you, when they're arresting like shoplifters or rapists?
For a Section 2 violent disorder. For an offence that occurred on the 17th of July. So you do not have to say anything, but it may harm defence. You do not mention on questions and which later rely in court and continue to do so may be given evidence. Reason for your arrest, there was an interview about it, and also do post-arrest searches. So we're searching for items of clothing you're wearing on the day. Understand? Yeah, okay. He's going to come with you. He's going to sit in the back of the jail.
Isn't that fascinating? Look, if that guy was violent, if he broke the law, then of course he should face justice and go through all of the usual process. But I do find it fascinating that the Essex police all of a sudden think someone who may have caused a bit of damage at a protest deserves all of this special attention, when you didn't see them releasing the video of the damn migrant who was arrested for sexual assault, did you? No. These videos are reserved when they want to stop the local population getting a little bit angry about something. We've seen it from last year, and we know the drill. There are now also serious questions about whether Slimpy Starmer even wants to end this madness whatsoever, with Sunday Telegraph editor Alistair Heath writing that the self-anointed elite simply cannot understand what most of the country can see so clearly. And he argued that if Starmer truly wanted to diffuse tensions, and if he were even a half-decent politician, He would make the trip to Essex, and like de Gaulle, addressing the crowd in Algiers in 1958, tell the law-abiding middle-class protesters in front of the Bell Hotel in Epping that he understands them. He would order the transfer of the asylum seekers to a better location. He would condemn extremists and agitators of all hues, far right as well as far left, and insist that all violence is intolerable. He would rebuke Essex Police, the wokest police force in the most right-wing county, for escorting pro-migrant protesters to the Bell, stating that he opposes any notion of two-tier justice or treating one side of the debate better than the other. He would express his distaste at the booking of a 4-star hotel in Canary Wharf to house migrants and demand cheaper pop-up sites be found. But there are growing suspicions that violence breaking out is actually something Starmer wants. Now, why would he want that? I'll tell you. So that he can lock up more poor souls like Lucy Connolly, make them the fall guy, and go on another rant about the so-called far right. Now, Bernie Spofford, our friend here on Outspoken, has actually provided this warning, writing, "Call me cynical, but the only real outcome from a summer of discontent on the streets will be a massive clampdown on civil liberties. Every peaceful protest, no matter how justified, risks being infiltrated and goaded into riots. And every time that happens, it will be used to justify new emergency powers, surveillance, and restrictions. Don't think the government fears disorder. It doesn't. It will thrive on it. It will use it to justify measures they couldn't otherwise push through. If you think mass protesting ends with justice or reform, it won't. It will end with curfews, bans, blacklists, and a public too scared to speak up ever again. I'm just saying, think of another way, because you're walking into a trap. A summer of anti-migrant riots would suit our elites down to the ground. And it really is worth thinking about that. Nick Buckley, Essex Police, they don't want people to follow your orders, do they? They don't want people to be out peacefully protesting, because not only is this dispersal order now in place outside the Bell Hotel in Epping, they've released this video of this young lad who was apparently involved in what was going on Thursday night. And we know that there were a couple of bad apples. I think they were young locals, right, who were just getting a little bit carried away. But it is so telling, isn't it, Nick, that they released this video. They're going to turn this guy into an absolute warning shot to everyone else. But no video released from the police of Hadush Gerbesali Kabatu, the Ethiopian who'd been in the country 8 days and was arrested after 3 sexual assaults. So it does just show you where the priorities of the police are.
Oh, absolutely. I don't think the government want violence on the streets whatsoever. If it happens, you're right, they will use that as an excuse to bring more draconian measures in. But the government is terrified of violence because governments never know where it's going to lead to. Hence why they came down hard at Southport, hard at Ballymena, and hard now with the migrant protests outside the migrant hotels. They're terrified. Angela Rayner is terrified. They've been warned about this. Every government's been warned for decades that this is going to come to a head. The people have not wanted mass migration at any point in the last 70 years. And every government has told us we're going to reduce it, we're going to stop it. And every government has lied to us. And I think we're on a knife edge now. I think the people have finally had enough. And we've seen the stats that people like Rupert Lowe have been producing and demanding of the government about the rape stats. You know, we're the rape capital of Europe. That's something not to be proud of. And these
and it is Afghani men who commit more rapes per capita than any other ethnic group by far. And of course, the public is still angry, Nick, because of this massive cover-up, which has meant that we're also getting over 100,000 Afghans here, which we're just meant to move on from that and just forget that now. You know, have you noticed how the mainstream media have just thought, oh, let's just move on from that biggest cover-up of all time?
If we didn't riot over the mass industrial gang rape of hundreds of thousands of poor white girls over many decades, if we didn't rise up because of that, are we ever going to rise up? The government know we're weak and pathetic. English, British men over the last 70 years have been bred to be weak and pathetic, and we will accept almost anything. Now, a few working class men haven't been converted yet, and they're beginning to stand up and they're beginning to say enough's enough. And the government are terrified. If this catches on, it looks like it's going to catch on. The government will be worried that they'll be hanging from piano wires on lampposts, because no government that's ever overthrown sees it coming. Mussolini didn't see it coming. The Romanian dictators didn't see it coming, and they are terrified.
Well, they should be. They should be. There's actually growing talk about this now. Kane, did you see that treatment of that 17-year-old young lad in Camden? Literally being attacked. And again, I haven't seen this anywhere in the mainstream media, Kane, because presumably that type of attack on a young lad who's 17-year-old and is speaking out against the madness in this country is completely acceptable. I mean, I just feel like it's absolute proof of the two-tier standards that we have in the United Kingdom. But good on him for being so brave. But all of this, I think, adds to, I guess, a feeling that the left almost want to scare us into silence. Do you know what I mean?
No, I 100% know what you mean. It's it's fantastic on him for being so brave, and someone who has been in politics since I was about 14, and I know how difficult it can be.
Yes, and you were a UKIP supporter back then, weren't you? As a 14-year-old, which I can't imagine was a normal thing.
No, I mean it wasn't. I mean most people who are 14 years old are not sort of interested in politics and are not as sort of sound and right wing as I am, obviously. But no, I mean it's a level of hate that is absolutely despicable that the left just exude, and that's the problem. And they are the real fascists in all of this. They are the real fascists.
They are. They're not anti-fascists.
No, they're not anti-fascists, and it's absolutely disgusting. And where were the police? Why were the police not there when that young boy was being attacked? That's what does worry me. And it is a lot like two-tier policing, and I do fear for this country at the moment. I really, really do, and I fear for so many young people who are interested in politics and want to speak out, but feel so worried about doing so.
Thank you so much for watching Dan Wootton Outspoken. Please click on my face just to the bottom left to subscribe to this brand new independent news source and turn on the notification bell so you'll be alerted to our brand new live shows, uncancelled interviews, and special royal episodes. Outspoken is also now available as a podcast, so you can listen to the show every weekday on the go, wherever you are.